I would say there's some Malone Stockton potential here with LeBron in the Karl Malone role, and I don't think we've ever seen that before. But LeBron has expressed a willingness to adapt. I don't think that Luka has the kind of off ball potential that LeBron does. So I think the offense is naturally going to gravitate towards seeing the quarterback being Luka and LeBron being the receiver. Um, and dude, among other things, LeBron James is the best paint scorer of the 21st century. And he is a force. He's very hard to guard. And like I said about that last basket last night is one of the things LeBron's going to be able to do is get clean looks near the basket or deep paint touches in a way that he might never have gotten. He's never played with somebody like Luka. He's played with everybody in the league. But Dwayne Wade was not the playmaker or the passer that Luka is, and neither was Kyrie Irving. So this is a really nice development for LeBron James, the elder statesman, to have a little bit less offensive burden, to play off the ball, and he's been awesome on defense. JJ Redick talked about it too. So I think one of the big things for this trade is that Luka makes LeBron a little bit better and a little bit better on defense, a little bit more able to concentrate off the ball. So I like this pairing. I think we saw it a little bit last night, but more in Denver. You mentioned the leak outs, but I also think in half court offense, we can start to see the pick and rolls with these two guys. And I mean, it's just a dream come true for JJ Redick and the Lakers.
Yeah, that's a great point that LeBron much more able to play off the ball. Maybe,
yeah. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't know nationally. I don't think when I hear national games, sometimes that's how it is. It's a national game, but I don't know that people know that from the start of this year, really, if you look at Luka's usage rate, his catch and shoot attempts, he's still Luka. He's going to be in the 95th percentile of usage. But the Mavericks and Jason Kidd had done a really good job this year of not just making it like that 2022 team was, where they had no option once people effectively doubled him. Like, they'd done a good job of that this year. So I feel like that plus where LeBron is in his career from the AD experience, it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're having a very hard time here, Kirk.
I can't remember anything like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember. My head keeps going to European soccer, which in a way has been ahead of us in that, especially the younger fans of European soccer gravitate more towards individual stars than the franchises. And part of me thinks of this transaction as a moment where the NBA might experience something like that, where it's always been about the name on the front of the jersey. Is this the moment where at least some people start following the name on the back of the jersey? I know that's been true for LeBron as he's changed teams, but it certainly seems more prevalent in European soccer when somebody like Mbappe or Ronaldo bounces around some of the prestigious clubs. Like, kids will just buy the new jersey and keep going, because as Will Kane said on the Ryan Russillo show, do you know how many dogs in Dallas are named Luka? This
dogs?
Is more than kids,
humans.
But it's just like, it was a perfect way for me of expressing that, like, he was more popular than the Mavs
for sure
to a lot of people in that town.
It's brutal.
And I think that was part of as a former executive in a front office, like, one of the miscalculations here is people don't like the Mavs as much as you think. They loved Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki, and Jason Kidd, and you traded away that, and I think that's one of the legacies here is that's hard to fit on a spreadsheet. I think this is a miscalculation by so many different ways to look at it, but the business case is just a colossal blunder into itself, in my opinion. How do you trade the guy who has kids and dogs named after him?
Where's your head at with wrapping your head around, like, what? Like, I can't believe somebody is that dumb to think, I want to trade this talent.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all just, it's got to come down financially. That we're going to have to write that huge $120 million extra dollars. So on one hand, I think that, and while I answer the question I'm asking you for you, I On the other hand, it looks like AD's Anthony Davis is going to require a pretty good financial
the money's not
kick.
that different, yeah.
And they're going to have to now really Kyrie has him over a barrel because he's going to be like, well, you got to max me out. What are you going to do if you don't max Kyrie out?
Yeah.
Whereas if Luka was still here, you would probably still have some wiggle room there. But anyway, sorry, Kirk. I'm coping.
No, it's interesting. I think, when I was in the Spurs front office, we were looking, head on at the Kawhi Leonard Supermax extension. And I just know those are big numbers. There's very few people in the world who write checks like that. And they take those checks very seriously. So no disrespect to Luka, no disrespect to Kawhi Leonard. These are big deals, literally. And they have gravity. And I think that is a good thing to bring up. Ultimately, when I tried to explain this decision, I come back to a few things. Number one, the love for Anthony Davis by Nico Harrison. And that explains why there was only one team involved, the Los Angeles Lakers, which is a big question mark. I don't think many executives around the league would have handled it that way, but I think that explains why the Lakers were the only team targeted. I think I disagree with the assessment that Anthony Davis is a better player than Luka Doncic and by any means, but I think it explains how we got here. And I think the absence of other people in the front office who had been there, and I haven't heard many people talk about this, whether it's, Donnie Nelson, Dennis Lindsay, Bob Voulgaris, who famously left, and obviously most Mark Cuban. I think the absence of those other voices enabled this transaction to become a reality. And in a place where in most front offices, there would have been a very, very strong argument against this transaction. I don't think there were the people in place to look at the assessment of talent, Anthony Davis on one side, Luka Doncic on the other, a 25-year-old on one side, a 31-year-old on the other. I think it would have been shot down if there were more voices, including voices that were in the Dallas Mavericks front office within the last few years or in the ownership box. So I think you have to explain it with that too. It took a new owner. It took lack of voices around the whiteboard, and it took a pre-existing relationship between Nico and Anthony Davis to maybe cloud some of the judgment here. But that's how I explain it in my head, guys.
So you did work for an NBA team. Business-wise, as far as the money they'll make back, TV money, whatever it is it a wise investment to pay the Supermax?
You never want to lose the asset. So even if you're going to trade the player after you sign him, almost always with a player like Luka, you sign him. And then if you need to trade him, you have the out years, which makes him a more valuable asset to trade to somebody like the Lakers or the Heat or the Knicks, right? Oh, yeah, we got him for 5 years locked up, as opposed to he's a lame duck. He's going to be a free agent in a year. That's a really weak position to trade somebody in.
Like the one they're in now.
100%. So again, there's a reason almost all of these guys get the deal. There's a reason very few of them get given up on, or even Paul George, right? When last year in the Clippers organization, they were, instead of giving him 4 years, they were going to give him 3 years. And he's like, no, I'm going to get 4 years in Philadelphia. But I am among the people who would have not thought twice about giving Luka this money. And there was a lot of money. I understand that. But one of the reasons, even with the risk, or the conditioning risk, the injury risk, whatever it was, this is a very valuable asset to have a top 5, top 10 player in the NBA under contract for 5 or 10 years. It's that simple. It's that simple. Let alone a 5-time first NBA guy, first team All NBA guy who has shown no signs of not performing to the level of a top 5 player, in my opinion. In fact, I was there in June in the finals in Boston. Like, that wasn't that long ago. And again, that there's no reason they wouldn't have done the deal.
What I think is really, really interesting is to try to strip the like. Let's just think about it like assets. And at the post-trade press conference, Nico said, "Hey, our window's 3 to 4 years. So let's say it's this year and 3 more years." Had they signed Luka to the Supermax this summer, but for whatever reason, Nico just could not get over the working relationship, and he thought Luka was bad for the culture. Now it's trade deadline next year, and he's signed to the Supermax. I feel like you're getting a better package that can help you win over the next 3 years. I guess at that point it'd be 2.5. You're still getting a better package than this one. Like, the Anthony Davis obsession is obviously part of it, but I'm looking at, okay, let me project forward. Luka plays like he does in the back half of seasons a lot. He's a top 5 player for the rest of the year. He signs a Supermax. He's a top 5 player for the first half of next year, but there's all this stuff rumbling underneath. You move him at the deadline, you get a better deal than this. You're better positioned to win in 26, 27, and 28 if you do it that way. That's the part I can't get over, is that you're going to win any trade where you're trading Luka if he's on that max deal with voidable years. That's the part I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, one of the executives I talked to in the league was like, "Hey, the why is one thing. The why is like the culture thing. We're done here. We don't want Luka to be part of our future. That's the determination. That's the why." I think people around the league will always talk about this trade in history with the how. The how is inexcusable. The why, probably inexcusable too, but the how is definitely inexcusable. If you're selling your house in a nice neighborhood in Dallas, you don't take the first offer. It would be ridiculous for you to show it to one person, get their offer. By the way, get negotiated down from that first offer and then sell your house.
Yeah, that's a good example. And also, the kids love the house. They're in love with the house.
Yeah.
The house means a lot to them. They like living here. They have a personal connection to the house. Please don't trade our house.
Right, the house that you built specifically for you.
Exactly.
You know all the secret little things in there.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, the other example is an old school Dallas example that I've cited a few times talking about this deal is like when Jerry bought the Cowboys and he traded Herschel Walker, right? He brought back a dynasty of assets. It's like, we're going to get off of this generational running back and switch gears. And next thing you know, you got 3 Super Bowls. And that's the kind of generational haul you would get. Luka Doncic is probably better than Herschel Walker ever was in his sport. And, if you would put this in front of the Spurs or put this in front of the Thunder or put this in front of the Pelicans, I bring those teams up because they have endless draft assets right now. You would have gotten more than Max Christie and Anthony Davis long term. You would have been enjoying the fruits of this deal in the 2030s. There would have been an all-star in the 2030s wearing a Mavs jersey that you'd be like, oh yeah, that's what we got back. So I think the why and the how is a good point too.
Yeah.
Wrong determination on the why, but also poor execution on the how.